Hello, everyone.
Hi.
Welcome to DnDTime Brews. I'm Jeremy.
And I'm Pete.
Pete, how are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good, Jerry. Oh, my
Uh,
camera's a little down. Let me pick it up a bit.
that's all good. Hello, chat. Oh, man. Chat, I can't see very well because I punched myself in the eye and it hurts a lot. That's okay, though. Hello, Max Mikester, Psychopath, Bionic Shiba, Farful, The Forgotten One, Reflected Tenade, Farku, and the rest of y'all lurking in the shadows. Welcome, guys, to DnDTime Brews, a show where Pete, myself, and of course you, the chat, make cool homebrew stuff for stuff.
Yeah. We got some spicy ones tonight. If I may say so myself. Working on one very ambitious project and one 200-word RPG. Sounds like it's very difficult and complicated, but it's actually a lot simpler than it sounds. But I think we're going to be starting off with trying to brainstorm a new class tonight, which
This
is
is gonna be interesting.
going to be pretty wild.
So, this is something we haven't touched on before in DnDTime Brews. Oh, I guess, Pete, we didn't do a little, intro to tell people if for some reason you stumbled into here and you're new to D&D Time,
Yes.
what we are. Pete, what is D&D Time?
What is D&D Time? It's a show that we run every Friday. D&D Time is D&D Time Brews is a show where we homebrew new content for 5th edition and for play specifically in the game that we run on Friday, which is Pete and Jeremy's D&D Time, which is a really kind of silly, ridiculous world. So some of the stuff we homebrew, actually, the homebrew content we make tends to be actually pretty serious despite that. I think this only silly thing that we've ever brewed, and even then, I don't know if the bunny folk are that silly, but that might be the bunny folk. But we make new.
They're the silliest.
Yes, they are the silliest. And we make new content, basically, for 5th edition. And today we're going to be talking about some ideas, like I was saying before, for a new class, which I want to say up front, whatever we come up with today, brewing a class is going to be the most difficult endeavor we've undertaken thus far on Brews. Very, very far and away. It is not even close to comparable to anything we've tried to brew so far. So keep in mind that what we make, we might end up coming to the decision that it is not playable in D&D Time, and that will all be subject to how it turns out.
It might not even be worthwhile.
Yeah, we might find that we
all
can't
day
brew
today, and just throw it all out. It's a big iterative process coming up with all these things. So, we're taking a first shot at it. We'll see how it goes. I'm dropping frames somehow. This blows my mind, but oh well. But anywho, Pete, let's talk a little bit about what our plan is for this class.
Yeah, Jeremy, take it away.
So I'm sure, as a lot of you guys know, as actually Roger twice saying in chat, the anti-artificer, the dude who just breaks stuff. Well, the artificer just came out, a class that is supposed to encompass alchemy and artifice, creating new things. It just came out in Unearthed Arcana. It's pretty cool. You can watch Pete and I. We did D&D Time talks about this with Maddie Morgs and Crowley, or Farful 13. And we also ran a one-shot adventure featuring the Alchemist. You can check that out in our backlog of videos. But the one thing it didn't really do is the Alchemist subclass for it doesn't do a lot of potion making and real alchemy, I feel.
It's very appended. It kind of talks you get proficiency in brewer supplies, and you can make potions if your DM is using those crafting rules, is the idea, but it doesn't give any rules for that.
Well, exactly, right. And the way the class's power doesn't really hinge on their potion. Their class's power hinges on their little homunculus, their familiar, and that kind of stuff. So one of the things we figured would be a cool idea is going with that kind of direction, seeing if we could come up with some concepts that would eventually go into a class that would be a kind of a brewmaster, right? A potion creator, some kind of class that maybe prepares potions at the beginning of the day, and can then use those potions to do things like buff themselves up, what have you. least that's the direction we're shooting at, right, Pete?
Yeah. And we think this is definitely a niche that it doesn't really fit into, or it fits into D&D, but it doesn't certainly can't be emulated in an effective and real way with anything that currently exists. Um, I know we were talking about it a little bit before, and we had a lot of ideas, but one of the things about Fifth Edition, one of the things that has made it such a great edition, is that the classes are really expansive and very broad in their scope. Like Fighter has so much variability in what a fighter can be. Basically, really, you could have made any of the other martial classes, I think, and just had fighter be the only martial class. And I'm not saying that I think they should have done that, because it's much more interesting to have the ones that they have. But fighter is just such a broad thing. By kind of finding some variance in the subclass, you can just do a lot with it. But there's really nothing that you can, without going really far out of your way to reflavor things, do the kind of alchemist. So that's kind of the reason for that design choice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And I guess that's really the biggest point. When you're gonna come up with a new subclass, but even more importantly, a new class, the first thing you really have to consider is like, is there a design space, right? Like, for example, if you wanted to make a pyromancer, you can do that with a sorcerer or a wizard very easily. There's not a lot of mechanical difference that you would have to make a pyromancer, right? As opposed to like an evocation wizard can do the same job, and it makes
I was gonna
perfect
say
sense.
you might not even need to brew a subclass for that. You could probably do it with even
Exactly.
an existing subclass.
Whereas with the potion maker, yeah, you can reflavor spells as potions, but it gets a little weird when you have stuff like fireball. Oh yes, my potion of fireball.
I throw the potion and it explodes.
Yeah, it gets a little wonky. And so, yeah, that's pretty much our shot right now. We think this is an archetype that's probably worth doing. Um, the One of the other questions, Pete, is can you think of any subclasses that would work for this?
Yeah, I've been thinking about that a little bit, and I think the first and most obvious subclass that came to me was
Mhm.
an alchemist with kind of a specialty in poisons. Um, I think that kind of like making kind of more
A
dangerous.
poison.
Yeah, making that more kind of like dangerous concoctions. I think along the opposite vein, one with an emphasis on. And I don't know. We'll have to discuss what direction we go with the class on the whole. But I imagine making healing potions. I mean, if we make an alchemist and they can't make a healing potion, then it feels
Mhm.
like we went wrong somewhere in design. But maybe a subclass that might be emphasized in that direction is another thought. I think what I just said about you throw a potion and it explodes, I don't know if that's necessarily even a bad idea. Like throwing a potion and having exploding, that kind of like,
Mhm.
almost an explosive direction with alchemy could be good. And also, I think another direction would be alchemy's roots. Because when you think of alchemy in its purest form, you think of like the mythos of alchemy, and that is, this idea of creating a philosopher's stone and transmuting kind of metal into transmuting lead into gold and things like that. So maybe a heavy transmutation direction might also be an interesting way to do it.
Yeah, I think that would be pretty neat. I mean, yeah, I don't think you can do it with a transmutation wizard. They don't really have enough to really warrant it to like really live out that potion kind of fantasy. So combine potions out of the mishap table. Yeah, that might be a cool idea. Psychopath. Or maybe extract specific things from potions could be cool. So basically, where we're at right now, we got a class name. We're looking at this brewmaster slash alchemist slash potion guy slash. Oh, I'm sorry, potion seller slash. That's pretty much it, right? Those are kind of the our main routes that we're shooting at.
Potion seller, I'm going into battle. I need your
I
strongest
require your
potion.
strongest potion. My
You can't
potion
handle
to
my potions, traveler.
oh boy.
I already see some stuff kind of coming out in chat.
Yeah.
Shogun was saying a subclass could be a crowd control expert, like tossing around acid and
Mhm.
napalm everywhere. Um, that could definitely be cool. Um, Sword was saying kind of what I was thinking, like an alchemist or rogue that has an expertise in throwing and field alchemy. Okay, yeah. Um,
What else do we got in here? combining potions idea. I think that'll be like on the core class probably. Um, so yeah, let's look at those two. Right, we have the one that throws potions. So throwing potions as like a kind of archetype. You create stuff, you throw it, it has weird effect.
Yep.
And what's another one? The other one was
I was talking about like poisons as an option.
poisons would be cool. I think self-buffing would be cool, or buffing is
Yep.
obviously a huge option here.
Yes, for certain.
So we have some directions to take these subclasses. Or to keep to kind of start this branching at least. Support potions, yeah, exactly. So like buffing stuff. So buffing others / self.
Psychopath says, make sure to give the class proficiency in alchemy tools. Yes,
I'm gonna write.
We'll make sure we do that. Yep.
Because isn't it alchemist supplies? Pretty sure it's alchemist.
I believe you are right. Yes.
Give me a class that makes healing potions. I'll do nothing but brew all day, every day. Well, excuse me, my goodness. And that's an interesting point, Blood, we're going to have to talk about, right? How long, and actually, I think we can just write this down. How long do potions last? And I think the answer is just probably the same as anything else until the end of a long rest. Right?
You mean in terms of like, kind of like what's the expiration date of your potions, not how long does the effect last?
So I mean, I think they last 24 hours, right? Expire after 24 hours.
Yeah, and maybe that's something that we even kind of work into the class features, because that's going to be, and I think what we're getting at now is going to be the main thing that's going to make the alchemist unique, is that if we're going to do like a pure brewer, I don't know if we want to make this a spellcasting class. It's definitely, it's definitely a magic class.
I think we can take some hints from the way spellcasting, especially prepared spellcasting, is implemented in 5e.
Yeah.
And then we can kind of diverge it. So it still follows the same kind of convention. So it makes sense to someone who plays a spellcaster looking at this class. They'll see it and say like, all right, I understand how preparing my brews work.
Yeah.
But their actual execution might be different.
And in terms of kind of like lore and flavor and stuff, we also have to think about, do we want it to be something like what the Artificer did with this idea of infusions, where you're putting magic temporarily into something? Or do we want it to be a pure brewer supply? Because then we'll have to kind of, either we can just go with, it just works like this and have the suspension of disbelief of, you're preparing all of these things and you're gathering ingredients and put them together, or do we want to go a more realistic route, which would probably get funky and be a little too hard to design, where you actually need to have some kind of like resource that goes into the potions, because that's also like one of the kind of archetypes
in 5e as a general rule. Whenever resources do exist, they bank off of gold almost entirely. If they're not like, you get these automatically from your class at the beginning of a blah blah blah.
Yeah.
They're all based on gold, and there are very few even then that exist. I mean, there's material components, that's about it.
Spellbook pages are one of the only ones.
And personally, I'm really not a fan of that design, just because a lot of players, a lot of GMs especially, when they're going to run their own games, that's a big thing they mess with, is the economy of the world. It's a very common thing to homebrew. The economy's different here than in the Forgotten Realms. So that's a relevant, I think it's something to consider. I don't think we want to tie to resources. Because
it's just how do we
be messy.
I think it's less of a question of do we do resources and more of a way of like, how do we justify not doing them while it's being this like, this concoction based thing.
I think it's just it's just the amount of time it takes to do them, right? Over the course of blah 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 blah, you can do blah blah. We just say, yep, over a long rest you can make these. You can make X many whatever. Might be a way to go about it.
And I've put on a new page here. I just kind of threw out the I just kind of threw out the barbarian to pick from, but these are also some of the basic things that we determine about a class. Things like, what are the hit dice of that class? What proficiencies do they get? Armor, weapons, tools, what saving throw proficiencies, which skills, and what are the starting equipment? And starting equipment, I assume, is last. But I think a lot of the other ones are stuff that we can kind of start to fill in pretty early to get a good idea of, just to kind of start visualizing what the character is going to be.
And trying to catch up a little bit on chat, Maddie Moore is saying maybe making a character that could pull spells from others and use them in potions or something like that. I think that sounds pretty familiar to the old Artificer, actually, with their coins, where they could put spells into coins. And I think this actually works in a fairly similar... We could work in a fairly similar way. So maybe look to the original Alchemist spells in coins stuff, or not Alchemist, Artificer. And I think that's just a mechanic we can really look at, and that might help us a little bit. Don't forget Brewer's Kit. Yep, that's a pretty good call, V-Bunny. Brewer's Kit. Sword. I was also thinking of a fast brew ability. They could just grab whatever's around and grind it to paste and throw it in a bottle. I think that's a really cool idea, and I think that's actually also a really good name for a feature. Fast brew.
Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe that could like modify something on the fly.
Yeah, I can definitely see that.
So, Pete, I don't know about you, but kind of working off of that idea Sword just came up with. What might be really neat, right, is perhaps like mid-fight, they can use certain things to like from creatures they're fighting, maybe to help them against that creature. I like the idea of like, sorry, go ahead.
I'm saying absolutely. I think that some of what we do in terms of potion design could take a page out of the Sorcerer handbook and have some, not necessarily meta magic, but ways to kind of modify their potions in different ways. Because I think when you want to play that alchemist archetype, one of the, I think, fun ideas about preparing and making your spells is going to be wanting to like mix and match the things that they can do, combining, because when I think of like the alchemist, I think of combining different potions together to see what kind of stuff happens. I think of like, oh well, I've made it extra strong, things along those lines, and so I think I'm not crazy about the way meta magic is done, but having that idea of having some flexibility in the potions feels very alchemist and very, brewing things up to me.
So another idea, right, would be like a special mixing potions table. Because I know in the Dungeon Master's Guide, they have a table about mixing potions and bad things that can happen as a result. And some of them are good things. But that might be a cool place to start at to like look for cool concepts. Let me look at. I'm still trying to catch up with the chat here.
And on the subject of mixing brews, what are you drinking for a brew tonight, Jeremy? Forgot to do it.
Oh, I have some simple rum and Coke, Pete, as pretty much always.
I have a Guinness. I'm going to be drinking Guinness for a while because I got a 12-pack because they were out of 6-packs when I bought them for St. Patrick's Day.
There you have it. Lance was saying, Potion Master specializes in self-boost consumables. Oil Master specializes in item boost consumables. Vapor Master specializes in battlefield affecting consumables. Ooh, I like that direction. I really think that's a cool...
Yeah, I also like the term vapor. That just gets me thinking in a much different direction than I kind of already was.
I like the oils thing. That just seems neat to me.
Yeah.
Huh. I'm going to just copy that out of the chat. And... Yeah, right? Whoopsies.
What if, Roger Twice says, what if it's someone who literally lactates these fluids out of her body? That is the kind of thing that ideally, when we're done with this class,
you could do that if you want.
You could do that. This would be like, that would be a possible reflavor of this class, if that's the direction that you want to go.
This one actually. All right, let's see what else. Another to get pushed to
Psychopath is saying mini potion effects that only last one round.
Oh yeah, that would be cool too.
Yeah, and I imagine a lot of the potion effects are going to be Because this is another problem that I'm already starting to envision, Jeremy,
Uh-huh.
is in building an alchemist. If we're going to do spells, there's kind of like two ways to do it where we can just abstractly define the potion as spells and pick only spells that you can see functioning as a potion. Things like, you know,
Yeah.
potion of cure wounds, anything that has like a self cast or, something along those lines.
Hmm.
Um, and not potions. Like you couldn't make a potion of seeming with the seeming spell because you'd have to change the spell so that it targets one person because you can't have
Well,
like a party potion.
it also requires like a mental prompt seeming,
Yeah,
right? You have to say what
concentration
it
as
turns
well.
you into.
Um,
Well, I think even stuff with concentration, like haste, has concentration. I
yeah,
could see a potion of haste. I mean, that actually is a potion already. Um,
but functionally, the potion I assume does not require concentration.
no, it does not, and that's
Okay.
the thing. I don't think concentration is necessarily the holdup for me, at least. Obviously, like
I'm not in
balance
particularly.
perspective, maybe it
Yeah,
could
I'm
be.
not worried about that. That's a thing to consider when we're balancing. The thing I'm more concerned about
Mhm.
is if we're going to use spells, we have to think very carefully about which ones, because
Yes.
otherwise we'll just have to basically homebrew, re-homebrew, and redesign a bunch of spells as potions. The reason I'm very familiar with this idea, Jeremy, is because I have done this for a class I've made in the past.
Psychopath saying innovations, but based around the alchemy. For instance, a creation spell to make glass vial slash bottle. Yeah, and I'm following the psychopath. Um, let's see. I'm really far behind now. But okay. So V Bunny's saying, what you guys should do is you should use a D6 because basically a wizard or equivalent. Uh, so yeah, I think a D6 is like an appropriate hit points. Generally speaking, if we're talking like D12s are the beefiest of the beef. D10 are like seasoned fighters. D8s are like they're scrappy, and D6s are like ah. So I think this guy fits more under the category. What do you think?
Um, I mean, definitely D6 or D8. Uh,
Hmm. I think there might be an argument for that D8, maybe. I just do you ever see this character getting up into the fray?
See, I'm picturing. I guess it comes down to if we're going to go with the more supporty route, because I think there's definitely some. There could definitely be a lot of fun in sort of a Dr. Jekyll. I make myself big
Hmm.
with potions and then run in,
Yeah, I
kind
mean
of
that was
thing.
my first thought as well. Like
In,
a
in
Hulk
which,
or Jekyll.
yeah, in which case, 1d8 feels kinder if you want people to be able to go that build. But if we're not going to go that direction, then I think a d6 would be the better way.
Well, I think in that case we go with the D8 because we don't want to prevent us from designing in that direction because that's one of like the quintessential. That's what people, a lot of people. Oh, well, at least that's what I thought about first.
Yeah.
So I don't want to cut that off. Ba, 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 ba. Let's see. Sort of saying Dex for saving throws because brewing concentration, Con for brewing, and maybe Wisdom for all sorts of other checks. Oh yeah. So let's talk about like I guess we're still coming with some concepts up here, but let's try and frame out a little bit about this basic um, kind of stat block, I guess you could call it down here for the base class, just so that maybe that'll help us to kind of guide our direction. So we said the D8 hit points, and then
So that's going to be
8
8
plus
plus
con.
con, and then 1d8, or 5 plus con
Yeah. Um.
per
Yeah.
alchemist level.
Well, actually, I'm not even gonna call it. Say, gonna highlight that in case that isn't end up being our final name. Yeah, what proficiencies do you want to give?
Um,
Light armor. I don't think we have medium armor or shields. This does not
Definitely,
feel like a shields
yeah,
class to me.
I don't think that's the way to
But I
go.
think we can say light armor.
Maybe the only thing I can imagine is maybe going back and giving medium armor back if we decide to go in a direction that I don't think we go. But
Mm-hmm.
light armor feels right to me.
Weapons, simple and martial. I don't think we need more.
No martial, I would say. Oop, oop, oop.
And what kind of tools are we looking?
Um, alchemist supplies and
And brewer's kit, certain.
yeah. Let me get the official
Alrighty.
words for those.
Okay. And I'm gonna catch up with chat a little. Maddie Moore is saying if you want a melee class, then the alchemy would be powders or oils to apply to weapons instead. Ooh, that might be a cool idea actually, because I mean that's an interesting question because we're kind of hitting a point where what do we really want this class to do? Do we want this class to be able to fight? Maybe like obviously it doesn't by default have medium armor or martial weapons, but maybe that's a subclass that gets those.
Well,
I mean, I'm thinking immediately from that idea, and I was thinking this the second Lance typed oil. I just thought of the Witcher with all their decoctions and things like that, and oils they can apply to their weapons to help them against certain things.
Yeah, there's also the question of like what is the thing that defines the alchemist, and I assume it's I assume it's their spell casting, which is going to be called something like brewing.
Yeah,
I don't think it's going to be. Now, there's also the question: do we want to call it spell casting, or we just want to flat out call it's brewing? And this is a non-caster. What you do is brew potions.
Oh, that's a hard question. I think it depends on what direction we end up going with that cast.
That's a pretty big decision point. I think that we want to probably make that pretty early on in this design.
Yeah, and I think we need to figure out what direction we want that design to go in first before we can really even say that, right? Like, how much do we want these potions to mirror? Why do you say this? To mirror like normal.
And my thought on that is a lot, just because of if we were gonna go, I guess it's just a question of how much time we want to take into building this, because I think the class becomes infinitely more difficult to make if we decide to go in a direction where we're not using spells. I think we could make something really cool, and I think that's like a totally valid direction to go. It's just that's going to get real complicated, I think, very fast if we decide to not use a traditional, the traditional spells of 5th edition.
Yeah.
That would be just a very ambitious.
That's the next kind of question, right? How much do we want to have a set of potions you can make versus a framework that you can use to make potions? So, for example, when we look at like a wizard, right? A wizard can create what am I saying? So a wizard can can learn new spells because when they find spells, right? They can add spells to their spell book, they learn spells. Follow?
Yes.
Something that could be neat is we could put a mechanic into this where, I mean, how many creature types are there? 8? Maybe 10?
That
oozes, undead,
reasonable.
Plants, monstrosities, giants, humanoids, aberrations, and elementals. Is that it? Is that a whole shebang?
No. There's
celestials.
There's a lot of more niche ones.
But what could be a neat thing, and even if we don't put a lot of power into this, right? It could be really cool if we just made a basic framework where when you defeat a creature of a certain challenge rating, right? You can use bits of that creature to create, to create a basic kind of potion that will help you against that kind of thing in the future. And maybe it's by creature type and challenge. So it'll help you against creatures of that challenge rating or low of that.
And
I can see that being a neat, like, kind of collect them all kind of deal.
I think that could definitely be cool. Are you thinking that as like the core feature, as like an alternative to spells?
I don't even think it's necessarily a core feature necessarily. My point is, I think if we keep that core spell casting fairly small, we keep that into a small pot with a bunch of like add-ons. So if we take like the enhance ability spell,
oh yes, you're basically thinking kind of like a half cluster.
Yeah, exactly. We keep the actual basic brews fairly minimal, and then we have a bunch of these kind of like niche but varied framework So like, I mean, I think that's a pretty decent example, right? You kill a zombie, you take part of that zombie, you make a potion, and you can create this new potion that gives you advantage on attacks against zombies. Just pulling something out of my ass. I don't know if it's way too powerful for just a random little thing.
Yeah.
I mean, it helps you fight zombies, or it helps you fight undead, rather, of the zombies challenge rating. And I think that could be a really neat mechanic, right? Something that would be fun, a cool, like, collect them all kind of direction.
Yeah, I mean that kind of flexibility. That definitely seems. I can see that being satisfying for sure. It gives you an alternating. It's a much, for one thing, that would certainly be unique. It would give you an alternate desire in combat where your loot is also the enemy that you kill, which is kind of satisfying because a lot of the times you just fight a monster and you just fight the monster and then it dies. And like if you
Exactly.
kill
It's not
a
important.
monstrosity, you don't really get much out of it. But
Also, thank you, Farfel, for posting that. I had forgotten beasts, dragons, fae, and fiend. Drat. Weird that I forgot all. Because I mean, like, who hasn't played a game where you're playing a game and you kill a dragon and you're like, I want to harvest the dragon scales and stuff, and the DM's like, there aren't any rules for this. Okay,
you
I'll
get
make something up. Oh shit, you got way more money than you should have. But
whoops.
oopsies.
Okay,
Or
so
up, I just made your life really hard and you didn't get anything out of that.
basically you're thinking a half caster.
Yeah, I think that would be a cool idea. Yeah, we Monster Hunter now.
I
think that'd be just neat.
Yeah, no, that could be a lot of fun. I definitely think it's something worth at least considering and seeing if we can make it work. As another just side note, while I'm thinking of it right now, in terms of preparing spells, because this is going to be kind of like you prepare your spells at the beginning of the day, in a much more kind of hard set manner where you're picking like, no, these are exactly the spells that I'm going to cast today. Seems, for one thing, I'm putting that out there as is that how it's going to work, because that's the most logical way for it to work, but I don't know if that's how we actually want it to work. Personally, that sounds fun to me, but I don't know how many people would like getting stuck with, say, a spell like, oh well, I thought I would want this locate object, but there was never a situation where we needed locate object, and now I didn't have fireball in the entire combat encounter that we went through. So there's definitely some kind of annoying stuff in that regard. And maybe there's different ways to go about preparing some of those different spells, but then kind of putting spells in different category by how you prepare them, because I like the idea of, say, preparing, like if you have a spell, again, just to throw locate object as the example of a spell that you need in a niche role-playing sense, like having that have a longer expiration date where you get to prepare locate object for a month feels cool. And then spells like, well, this is fireball in a jar and that only lasts for a day. That feels mechanically like it would work out. But it also is, a lot of complexification there, but that might be a direction to consider going with different expiration dates depending on what the spell is.
Some complexification, huh, Pete?
Some complexification. I think it's a word adjacent.
Complexity, maybe? Julius Frogston in the house.
Well, you take your inspirations from real life.
It's true. So I like that. I think that's neat. That might be a little too, I don't know. Even if we had just two categories of long-term and short-term potions, that could be neat. That might be a little much, and I think at that point we're heavily diverging from spellcasting. And I think maybe that's what we want to do.
Well, in that case, I think
I think we should divert. I think we should keep spellcasting like in our mind as a concept. But I think it's reasonable to diverge from it. I think the long rest recharge is the direction we want to go for daily stuff. Just because.
So you're thinking Way of Four Elements monk, but not that.
I'm not sure I know what you mean.
I mean, a lot of things like, so a potion might be, you can spend X spell points.
Mm-hmm.
Are you thinking like a point system instead of a slot system?
Yeah, I'm thinking maybe. Well, I mean, Yeah, I'm thinking something like that. And you can tack a couple of things together and to create your own idea. So like
To
here's
cast Brew of the Fire Snake, when Brew of the Fire Snake is, the fireball spell basically, but it has an addendum on it.
so I'm gonna put this on there now, just down. I'm at the very, very bottom here. These are the 4 features of enhance ability. We have Bear's Endurance, Bull's Strength, Cat's Grace, Eagle's Splendor, and Fox's Cunning, and Owl's Wisdom. And I think these would be cool, like, baselines for a potion. And then maybe they can tack stuff on with their fast brewing, right?
Yeah.
Where
Well,
they
I
can make
also
something on the
think
fly. They can throw a little bit of sulfur in and it does something else.
I also think like a way to do that with spellcasting though, like I think it would be rather than have those in there as potions, you could just be like you cast the enhance ability spell when you cast, or like have in the brewer spellcasting when you cast a spell that requires you to make a choice, you make that choice at the time that you brew it rather than at the time that you cast it. Because then we don't have to like individually set out each of those effects. We can just have the one thing that's already kind of use the framework that already exists.
Yeah, I'm following that. The issue I don't want to get too bogged down in, right? Is like it can be hard, especially for newer players, to just come up with what spells they have prepared as it is. You know what I mean? Having to come up with like, even if it's 4, right? It's like I have 4 combinations that you have to decide of at the beginning of the day. It can get a little weird, I think. You know what I mean? It can be a little cumbersome just to just keep track of.
I don't know. Are we going to? I feel like, do we want to go in a new player friendly
Oh,
direction with this?
even for existing players, I could just see that becoming very cumbersome over again.
Yeah, I don't know. The way I see it more realistically being played out is, people who don't like it just don't care about it. Like I know there's a lot of people. I mean, I've seen it countless times of people who are just like, even with prepared spells, if they're like, say, a cleric, they're just like, oh yeah, I prepared it, whatever. And they just cast their spells. And I think that will be the same idea as like people who don't like to prepare spells already won't like it and will kind of ignore it the same way a lot of people do preparing spells. And then people who do like that will like it. Like I would like that.
Oh, looks like I missed one up here a little bit. Bionic Sheep was saying, I was thinking a much more abstract thing where you can make a potion that gives you a plus X to skill Y when you choose Y, and X is based on your level. Yeah, I mean that would be a way to handle that too. Something I think having stuff scale with your level could be a cool journey. And then he also says instead of having points/slots, say you make a certain you have a certain number of components that can be made per day. Yeah, that'd be like a points based system, like PowerPoint in the dungeon. As an alternative to cast.
Avalon was saying a potion master should be able to imbue their potions with magic, same way an arcane archer enchants their arrows. I definitely, yeah. So you're thinking kind of like it's a little bit what the artificer did with the infusions, where they kind of like temporarily put their magic into things, and maybe that's also a direction we decide to go.
I mean, the arcane archer is just like on the fly though, and I think that falls under that quick brewing. Yeah, I guess. I mean, the thing is, we could definitely do just normal spellcasting. I don't see that necessarily being a major issue. It just means we're gonna have to make, if we do that, the other features have to really stand out and provide a good branching framework for subclasses, right?
I don't actually know what you mean by the last statement you made.
So, for example, right, if we just do normal spellcasting, and we do normal spellcasting and a couple core class features like being able to make those potions of monster fighting or what have you, right? There needs to be enough kind of meat on the subclasses to make them feel different, other abilities that aren't just spells. If that makes sense.
I mean, I know what you're saying. I feel like that's always true.
Yeah, I suppose. I was just, yeah, I don't know. I'm worried we're getting too close to just like we're just gonna reflavor a wizard, and we're just gonna say his spells are like potions.
Um,
You know, as long as the other features are different enough.
yeah, I mean,
Well,
if
who
you're
cares?
worried
It doesn't
about,
matter mechanically how we implement it, right?
yeah, I mean, that's kind of my thought is just,
Yeah.
I'm just worried about being too ambitious on this. What is going to be already? I think it's already ambitious to just try a class, and I think it's more reasonable to like use as much framework as we can. Is just my overall design philosophy. But if you want to go wild, and we
Well,
decide that we want to go wild today, I'm down to just
I
we
want
can
to go
go
wild
crazy.
when it's worth to go wild, right? When it like helps to do it. And I think this might be one of those cases where it could help to go a little crazy.
I'm
Um,
like I said, I'm fine with it. I just want to know, like, I think it's just great to establish that at the beginning, because that's like I think this is the point. The point of for this class is: do we go the more traditional spellcasting route, or do we make up a whole new kind of system that's unique to the alchemist? Like like a psi
yeah,
point, or from what's the called
PowerPoints in the
the
Dungeon
psionic.
Master's Guide, or yeah, yeah. I think we go that route because I think the whole point of being an alchemist is being able to mix and match different potion abilities. And if we limit that too much to spell slots and specific spells, I guess, right? Being able to put a couple of different things together to create your potion is kind of what I think they want, or what an alchemist would want. Maybe not. That was my.
Um, No, I mean you can definitely build an alchemist kind of in that manner, I think, um, and that's definitely a fun way to do it. So let's assume then going forward that that's the route that we're going to go, because I think that's a great place to like decide on something and have that direction.
Okay, so we'll stick with that for now. We'll say we're going to use. I'm going to scroll back up to the top. Going to use a points points based system to mix and match a small pool of effect to create unique potions. An incense subclass that would actually be really cool. I saw you mention that earlier, psychopath, but I'm sorry I didn't mention at the time. So vapor master, maybe we can just put that with incense because I like that as like a sub deal. So they're not ready classic paladin. Ooh, hmm. Oh god, no, we're not making a Pokemon master. That's a whole different class, Matty
So you
Morks.
want to be the master of Pokemon?
Pokemon.
Uh,
Anyway,
I I would love to make a Pokemon master. That's like a thing that I would actually really like to play. On just a side note.
a side note. So let's talk about like that base framework, right? So when we look at druids, right, and they have wild shape, and that wild shape says it can be anything with this CR, except with these limitations. I don't think we can go that broad here. I think it might be a better idea to pick like a couple of core. I mean, I pulled these out as like an example. I don't think these are the core base effects we want, but I think if we made like 3 or 4, I think it's a sweet spot base potions that you could then tack stuff onto. That might be neat. That would be
Um,
a cool starting point.
yeah, I mean, I think rather than writing out what those potion effects are, I think we should write, if we're going to do 3 kind of baseline potions. I think those are going to be defined by what the genre, so to speak, of potion is.
Mhm.
And the genre would probably be: is it a, if we're going to do oils, for example, is it an oil? Is it a potion?
Ah,
Or is it a vapor? Is it a gas?
I love that. That's excellent. That's a really we're tying it all together. I love that. That's very good.
Nice
So what
use
do we
of
want to?
words. This seems like it should be your area of expertise, Jeremy. We're talking chemistry.
Yeah, well, I'm bad, buddy. I'm not a great chemist. I'm a chemical engineer. I'm not a chemist. Big difference.
Fair enough.
Uh, Psychopath saying incense subclass. Well, apparently we're just putting these right in here with the vapor. Um, let's see. Frog saying a balm. Make it a balm. Um, I mean, I think oils slash balms like, and we'll figure out exactly what these are
Yeah,
called at some point in
there's
the future.
definitely
How we
going to
want
be
to flavor
some
them.
There's definitely going to be, I think, some differences in flavors there, and there'll be a lot of
Mm.
there'll be a lot of I want my oils to be bombs.
Yeah. So what? Another thing that Matty Moore just mentioned are powders. Do we want to put like a powders thing in here?
I would rather powder. I think three is a great point though, because
I like three a lot.
three is the magic design number, and I think powder also, the topically applied like an oil. I think powder falls into the same category as kind of the oil, because I think the rest of them, vapor you breathe, potion you drink, oil you apply, and I think those all have a very distinct difference there.
Yeah. So let's actually make a note for that, right? This applied, uh,
Method of application would be
consumed, and then
yeah.
breathe. So I think vapors, right? Those are where we're gonna really have our effect, right? That's where I'm sorry, our like effects that could potentially target other creatures. Like this is where like a cloud kill or something along those.
Yeah. And even I can picture, even a fireball. Like that's an example that comes up a lot because I think fireball is the strong thing.
Mhm.
But I think there could be a justification for I throw out a vapor and it, ignites the air or whatever. Yeah.
Boom. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. All right. So I dig that, and I think maybe these categories can go another way. So this is kind of like this can also be like our buffs, but potions also kind of fit into that buffs category.
well, I think from there,
Mm-hmm.
one of the maybe the nature of the buff is probably significant, but I think those would probably define things like, range, action economy, like how it's used, things like that, as opposed to the next kind
Ooh.
of category of the next category of thing would be like effects, because I feel like if we want them to be able to do, if we're not going to go the spells route, if we want them to be able to do damage, I think we can apply just basically have one damage spell and then have a bunch of modifiers for that. Like, so, you can make the simplest potion and have it be a damage potion, and the damage potion hits you for 1d6 plus level or something when you drink it. And then you can spend more points to increase it by like X amount per X amount of points spent. And then you can add more potion effects. Like, okay, now I want to add an extra type thing to make, I want it to be specifically poison damage that it does when you drink it, or I want it to be specifically fire damage when you throw it. And like a vapor might be an AoE and, kind of a larger scale spread out thing. And so the damage might scale differently. But having a lot of very simple ones that can be like combined in that way, that's kind of like, is that what you were thinking when you were thinking points?
Um, I think so. I think we're on the same. Yeah, yeah. I'm pretty sure we're on the same page. I'm sorry. I'm just excuse me. I'm also reading up with chat here. I really like that sword's kind of concept. A cloud of vapors that heal for a D4 for each turn you stand in it. That sounds a lot like healing spirit sword. Naughty, naughty. We don't use healing spirit here.
And well, that's exactly what I'm kind of talking about, though. Like, there's one baseline. This is the healing effect. You can put it on an oil.
Yeah.
You can put it on a potion. You can put it on a vapor. It interacts a little differently with each of those.
Yeah, I think that could be neat. And if the main distinction is action economy, I think that is a cool way of differentiating, right? Maybe an oil or a balm is reusable, right? Maybe a potion is just a one-time use, but it's quick, right? It's a bonus action or something. And maybe that vapor is it's just weird. Probably an action. I don't know.
Well, I'm picturing kind of like I'm picturing kind of a different. And maybe action economy is the wrong way to go about it. Maybe it's just we apply an action economy to like, because of oils. If we're talking oils, we're kind of talking, putting them on a weapon, right?
Yeah, I think so. Balms, not so much, but oils, yeah, definitely.
So maybe oils are less. Maybe there's some potions that don't apply. Like maybe you can't apply. There's no such thing as a healing oil.
Yeah, I don't think so. That'd be a weird one.
And we can specify on the effects, like just like spells have components, this can be a vapor, this can be a potion. It cannot be an oil. This can be all three. This can be, like damage can be all three. And so maybe the damage oil that you put on your sword, it gives your weapon like an elemental damage, like an elemental weapon or something like that.
Yeah, no, I think that's cool. And I also think because we have this kind of specific distinction here, it also gives us a really good framework to take that the anti-creature whatever we were coming up with before and say this is how it applies to each one. If you put it on an oil, it does an extra D4 on hit. The weapon code and the oil does an extra D4 of damage on hit. If you put it in a potion, it gives you advantage on saving throws against that kind of creature. If you put it on a vapor, it does something else, right? I don't know what it does. But I think that's like a cool kind of concept, right?
Yeah, I think
that's
that's
a cool direction that we can really
and try and keep them as try and make the distinctions as like close as possible. And like I like the idea of vapor. There's like a set range that your vapor is. Like vapors are always going to be, for example, a 20-foot radius or something like that. Kind of AoE cloud that appears, like Sword Cohere saying, a lingering effect, that kind of.
What could be interesting is we could treat vapors very much in the same kind of way that because I'm kind of getting like a witch doctor like vibe now, and I'm thinking of. I'm familiar with Darkest Dungeon, Pete.
I know that you are familiar with it, and that's about my degree of familiarity.
So, I guess what I'm getting at, right, is like I'm almost thinking like what a sensor is.
Yes.
So I'm thinking like that would be a cool because I'm thinking how do these vapors happen, right? How does the character? How does this really non-magician, this more kind of practical alchemist, or not necessarily magician, right, create these vapors? And I think it's like pick a point within 60 feet, vapors appear, right? Like I don't think it's quite that.
I was actually just picturing throwing a glass vial and it breaking on the ground and the smoke would come out of it.
Yeah, I mean that's an option as well. But then you mentioned that AoE, and I'm thinking like, what if we took like a paladin aura kind of direction to that? That might be neat. Where it's just like
you're thinking like
it's just an aura around you deal.
Like the Plague Doctor vibe. They have their sensor, they have their bird mask, and it's just around them. It kind of fucks shit up. Or I guess also helps.
Yeah, exactly,
I think
right?
there would have to be
healing vapors. It could be like not so healing vapors. I don't know. Just a thought.
Yeah, I think that would be cool. We'd have to I think we'd have to build around that more. Like that would be because then there'd also be the implications of like.
Yeah.
If it's because does it hurt your allies and are you going to be like fucking people up by accident a lot with that kind of design? But I could definitely be cool. I love the flavor of it. I love the Plague Doctor as an archetype.
Yeah, I'm gonna write that down there. That could be very neat. All right, so what do we got? Let's kind of. So I think we might. At least I might be just a little lost at the moment. Not lost, but I think it's good we take a second and like relook at this. I'm gonna get rid of these because we're not using them anymore. We have 3 base kind of potions: oils, potions, and vapor. Or not potions, base concoctions. We have a bunch of effects which cost points, and you can stick these effects onto one of your concoctions to do interesting things. There's probably a limit based on your level, right? So we'll just say max limit to max number of things smashed together.
Yeah.
Based on your level or.
No, I think that's the way. Maybe it's based on your proficiency bonus or something like that. But it scales with level because one thing I think we don't want to give people the option to make one really devastating potion for a lot of reasons.
That is the exact failure that Way of the Four Elements monk had. You have that temptation to just dump all of your points in that fist of unbroken air, and then if it misses,
and
you're
it's
just
really cool. It's
sad.
really cool for that one hit, also, and then it's just like, well, that was
Unless you miss, and then you're really sad.
well, yeah. It should work like a smite if they're going to do it that way.
Yeah. Oh, right. But anyway, so we limit it based probably on proficiency bonus. You get to make more complicated stuff as you go around. And then of their kind of core class features that they get, they can create potions that, or they can create concoctions that help against specific creature types based on the CR of creatures they defeat and the type of creature. All right, cool. And they can, and maybe we narrow this down. Maybe they can't do this with every, because kind of like how the Paladin's Divine Sense can only sense a small array of creatures.
Yeah.
Maybe that's how this works. Like plants is kind of weird.
But I mean, also, I think there's definitely a justification for having it be any, because also that's like, I think it's easier to design for any than some, because
Well, if we just say it's a list, right?
well, I'm
If
saying
we just
like
say
if it's
when
just
you
like
defeat a
any
creature of these
wizard
types, you
creature,
can.
yeah, I suppose.
Just as
But like
a
even
thought.
yeah, well, that's something to figure out for sure.
So I was thinking like construct is weird, plant is kind of weird, humanoid is really weird.
Construct, undead, and humanoid are a little.
I think undead kind
Construct
of
and undead. Well, because when I think undead, like undead are immune to poisons. Why are they not immune to your? I guess because it's their potions. But I think things like holy
That's
water
fair.
against undead.
That's true, and I think killing undead is very much in the wheelhouse. You're right, of other classes. We don't want to step on their.
Yeah.
So maybe we cross out a couple of these that are a little funky.
I think things that would be immune to poison naturally are the kind of things that we'd want to stay away. Elementals, like, I can't picture like throwing a potion at a water elemental and it just dies, or drinking a potion of I'm immune to elementals, but I guess a potion of fire resistance, or that kind of thing.
Yeah, I think elementals kind of work because they're such a simple force. Well, anyway, we'll figure the specifics of it later. I guess the idea is maybe we exclude a few of these. Don't make sense. And this mechanic interacts with their 3 core potion types to a degree. We also have a fast brew when they can get cool meta magic like effects to modify potions in different ways. I think that's really neat. I'm not sure how we're gonna execute that necessarily, but I'm interested to see. What are some cool effects? I mean, maybe if it just regain some temp, like it gives them temp HP or something, is a fast brew kind of addition.
Yeah, I assume we won't have too much time because we're actually getting near our halfway point now. So I imagine we don't have too much time to come up with a lot of these kind of faster things. But I don't know. I think we're starting to move into a direction, which is good.
Yeah, and I think the real question is, so we've been looking at this for about an hour. The lot of us chat, a lot of awesome ideas coming out. Like really awesome ideas. I think there is actually a place, which is interesting. I wasn't sure there was gonna be a place for this class when we started. I wasn't sold. I mean, I was hoping, obviously, but I think this could have a spot in 5e.
Oh yeah,
maybe,
absolutely.
Definitely some more love to it. It's got a future.
I would say it's not done yet.
No, well, I'd say it's definitely not done. All we know is that they're probably a D8, and they're not proficient in a lot.
Yeah, they don't have a ton of proficiencies. And if we're gonna go heavy in that oil direction, maybe they do need a couple of weapon proficiencies.
Well, you know what? Maybe, I mean, by default, they could use those oils on their allies, right? And then maybe there is a subclass that focuses on using them on themselves and gets those martial. Because I think that's a really good direction to go in, right? Having that subclass that really, because I mean, this just screams 3 subclasses. One that really focuses on the oils and bombs, one that really focuses on potions, and one that really focuses on vapor.
But I want to just point out a comment that Shiba made before. One thing about having the ability to help so much is I want to be able to avoid being pigeonholed into the support for the rest of the party.
Oh yeah, no, definitely.
which is definitely a thing to consider. Psychopath, your potion crossbow. I've made the exact thing that you want. I have your whole class already. Message me after.
Potion crossbow.
I've made the medic from TF2. I've built the whole class.
Well, yeah, I'm liking this new class. Who it is?
The answer
can
is
answer
the
that now.
alchemist. It's the alchemist.
The alchemist.
I think that's the name. And I think in class design, like every other class name is just so iconic sounding. Like the barbarian. I can picture the alchemist standing up next to the barbarian.
You're right, but I don't want to 100% say that yet. We are kind of going in like a witch doctory direction. There could be a future with like the witch doctor or something. But I think regardless, we're going to be right back, folks. There's been a very productive beginning to DnDTime Brews tonight, but we're going to switch gears a little bit. We'll come back to this alchemist probably next time we brews. We do some brews, and maybe we can really, push it to that next kind of step.
Indeed.
But for the rest of brews tonight, Pete, you want to tell everyone what we're going to be doing when we come back from our break?
We're going to be doing... Stay tuned. No, we're going to be doing the 200-word RPG challenge. We're going to be talking about the challenge, and then also doing just basically brainstorming for that as well, because that's also a work of probably more than just 1 week. As
you never know, we might not.
Maybe we've
gone real in.
Maybe we crush it. Who could say for certain? But we'll have to wait and see. But basically, we're going to be designing a full RPG that is of 200 words or less for a contest, which, as I said, we'll tell you a little bit about when we come back.
All right. See you guys in 5 minutes.
See you soon.
Hello, welcome back to DnDTime Brews. We're
Here we
live with.
are.
Oh,
I was gonna sing "Here Together." This is a song I'm working on. I thought now would be the time to kind of air it.
ooh, Pete, I got some bad news about you.
Um,
Anyway, so welcome back, guys. We hope you enjoyed your 5-minute little respite from Pete and I's um, banter.
every
You won't
once in
be
a while,
getting much more of it.
you need to take a break. Yeah, so we're about to talk about the 200 word RPG challenge. I'm really excited about this. I really love this contest. I think I don't know if I've mentioned that on stream at all. I really love this contest. I think it's just a great just thing in the community, like just in the world of people who are like passionate about role-playing games and tabletop. It's just a really cool beacon of, like positive vibes and like giving a really good entry space for people who are interested in game design but don't really know how to get into game design, like a place to kind of try it out and see if they like it. And that's kind of what this contest is. So for anyone
Yeah.
who hasn't heard of it at all, basically the 200 word RPG challenge, and I've said this a couple times now, it's just a
Oh,
contest where
wow.
you need to design a complete a complete role-playing game like Dungeons and Dragons or something along those lines, but you have exactly a word count of 200 or less. And some really cool and creative stuff has come out of the game over the years.
And it looks like Ivalon from chat actually has been following them since 2016, where they helped one of the judges by playtesting games, which pretty
Oh, really,
freaking
Ive?
cool, Ivalon. Hot damn!
That's awesome, Ive. I would love to hear. I don't know if you yourself have ever participated, or even secretly, if you want to tell me what game you made, because I would love to see it if you ended up doing it.
And
Um,
for anyone interested, I'm going to post a link in the chat right now, 200wordrpg.github.io. So that way, obviously, for Pete and I in the show here in D&D time, we're going to be going in a much more practical direction, I guess you
yeah.
could say. It looks like our Twitch just totally crapped out, which is astounding to me.
Oh no.
But it looks like we're coming back, boys. We're coming back.
Are
I
we
have
still
no clue what's
Are we
going
still
on.
voice live?
I think we're voice live.
I'm gonna.
Jeremy broke it again. Apparently, I did.
Oh. Oh, we are presumably back.
It looks like we're back, everyone.
Classic.
I do not even begin to understand where this comes from or what's going on, but we're gonna have to figure it out. Looks like it's Skype. Skype being bad.
Yeah, you bought it a little bit on me there too, so it might be that
Yeah, I'm
actually might be
gonna.
an internet spike.
Well,
But
we'll figure that out. What I was saying when we kind of left off, and then Pete, I'll throw it back to you because you have a lot to say about this stuff.
yeah.
There's a lot of cool, creative RPGs in this challenge that have been created throughout the years. We're going to go with a very practical direction with our RPG, something that you can really play even with like strangers and have a lot of fun. We're not necessarily going to be going quite as artsy as some of them go. Some of them get very intellectual or philosophical or something or emotional and go in that kind of direction. I think we're going to be going a little bit goofier with ours just because that's what we do here.
Yeah. And that's what's fun to me. And I know the winners tend to be more on like the very intelligent side of things. But we're gonna be, like I said, we're gonna be going in I think the more just kind of fun, and we want to play something that me and Jeremy and hopefully you guys as well would want to play.
Yeah, and maybe we can do like a special and run this at some point, depending on what happens.
Yeah,
Um,
that would definitely be cool.
the
So
Forgotten One's asking, when does it start? Pete, when does it start?
that's a great question. Submissions generally open up towards the beginning of May. So you got plenty of time to kind of think about it. All through there's usually an announcement, I think, in kind of mid-April, when they'll be like, all right, submissions are going to be very soon, and they'll also announce the official the official rules of the contest. And the rules are you have 200 words, so there's not too much there. It'll give a little bit more of a guideline for how they judge entries and things like that. But really, what they judge on is creativity and that you follow the simple rule of having 200 words or less. And there's also a lot of very specific rules on the website with regards to um, word count and what counts as a word and what does not. And I suppose Avalon, as a reader for judges, would also have a very good, could also speak out on some of the more specifics and how they are judged and what the ruling on some of those things are.
Yeah. So without further ado, again, you guys can find a ton more on the website. There's a lot of information. You can see the winners, the finalists, and all from the last 4 years of the competition. There's tons and tons of stuff on here if you're looking for inspiration or just some ideas of how this kind of thing works. Do we want to jump to maybe the rules here, or do we want to just go right into some of the examples and then talk?
I think jumping in right into some of the examples, so people get an idea of kind of what kind of games predominantly are kind of like popular and really show up in the contest, and also just what some people have done. Because I had a couple examples that I had chosen to kind of show what a finalist is and kind of give an example of the tone of what the finalists tend to be is, and then one that I just adore that I found on there a while ago.
All right, so here we are. We're looking at this finalist example. This is one of those more. It's incredibly creative. It's very cool,
absolutely
more artsy kind of role-playing games. It's called Stardust. Do you want me to roll this one, Pete, and then you can get the next
I really want to do the next one, so if you want to do this
one. This venture is called Stardust. You were once a star. Someday you'll be a star again. But that won't be for a while. Now you get to remember what it was like. What you'll need: between 1 and 9 friends. An outdoor place with little to no wind, preferably at night, away from streetlights and with a view of the stars. A box of fireplace matches, and between 10 and 30 minutes. Sit on the ground close to your friends, not in a circle. Be close enough that you can hear each other easily. Everyone gets 3 matches and something to light them with. As you feel ready, light your match and hold it up high, and talk until you're done or your fingers feel hot. Extinguish the match. The first time you speak, begin with, "When I was a young star, ... The second time you speak, begin with, "When I was an old star, ... The third time you speak, begin with, "When I was a dying star." When everyone has spoken 3 times, lie on your backs real close and snugly remember where you came from up there and how someday you'll be back up there again.
And
this is very much a role-playing game.
Yes, that is Stardust. That was one of the contest winners in 2016. It's not my personal style, certainly. I assume not as yours is not as well, Jeremy.
Well, it's weird because I think that's an interesting role-playing prompt, but it's not really a game so much.
Certainly not in the way that I think of one. Yeah.
And it's got snuggles. That's not, not bad.
Also, in terms of the things that do make it a game, the lighting a match and using that as kind of a pseudo timer for how long you kind of do the action that you're doing, I think that definitely showed a really creative mechanic. And these are also
Absolutely.
The kinds of mechanics that you see in a lot of these games, using kind of the types of things that you wouldn't necessarily associate, finding very simple ways to do something like a timer, for example, and not requiring anything, and just having something that everyone has matches in their house, or if they don't have matches, they can probably easily get matches. So that's something that this game does really well. But the tone of it is definitely kind of spacey. You'll see that in a lot of, I guess, spacey literally, but I meant spacey more in the sense where it's
abstract.
Yeah, it's very abstract. This is probably the kind of thing we're going to stay away from, but these are the things that often win the contest, and it's very creative for certain.
Yeah, and it's really those creative mechanics of the burning of the match, right? Is the amount of time you have to do what you need to do. Those kind of more out of the box concepts are really, I think, at least in part, what we're going to be looking for, as we kind of do this more and make a few more of these throughout the next couple of months. So let's scroll down just a little bit more to, I call this good, awesome example. But basically, this is another very, very good RPG from the competition that is, I think, more of the tone we're going to be going for. And do you
Yeah,
want to
this
talk
is
about this game?
this is called Fuck. It's Dracula. I adore this game. Let me just get into it. We'll read it and then we can talk about it. You are simple villagers on the desert planet Thanaxio. It's 3400 AD, and humans live throughout the galaxy. A coffin-shaped pod just crashed to the south. Create characters. Step 1. Roll 1d6 for each following stat. Aggress, comprehend, enrapture, and survive. Step 2. Everyone rolls 1d6 for one item from this list. 1. A knife. 2. A picture. 3. Some water. 4. A mirror. 5. A book. And 6. A crow. Step 3. Write down who or what your character loves most. One player is the DM, Dracula Master. Play encompasses 5 phases. Phase 1, investigate the coffin. Phase 2, return to the village. Phase 3, climb Dracula Mountain. Phase 4, enter Dracula's sanctum. And Phase 5, confront Dracula. DM describes what happens at the beginning of each phase. Roll, on the table they have here. 1, someone falls in love with Dracula. 2, bat wolves. 3, mist of sadness. 4, a betrayal. 5, learn one secret about Dracula and one secret about a PC. 6, fuck, it's Dracula. Mechanics. When you try something challenging, roll 1d6 against an appropriate stat. If you roll equal or lower to your stat, you succeed. If the roll is higher, the DM writes something on your character sheet. That is the game, and I love it, like I said, very dearly.
And this is a very interesting, very open-ended game.
Yes.
It's very unclear whether the Dracula. I mean, I guess the Dracula Master is against you. So when he writes something on, or they write something on your sheet, it's probably a bad thing. I think.
Yeah, presumably. That's something.
Presumably.
That's something I really like about this game design. Is it's very open-ended in that kind of failure mechanic, where I imagine something that he could write on your character sheet is probably just, either you dead or you've been turned into. You could write something like, you now work for Dracula, you now serve Dracula because you failed in like the battle against him, or things of that nature.
Or
very
you stub
broad.
your toe.
Yeah, if it's like a minor thing.
Really annoying.
It's a minor thing, you stub your toe. You get very frustrated. You could also go from a more heavy RP side of things and be like, oh, you fail in this thing, you become, very frustrated, and you're like, you're growing angry, and give more of like a role-playing prompt. Could be a direction you decide to go.
Yeah, so one thing right off the bat, very, very strong basic mechanic of you have some stats, and you roll one die to try and get your stat or lower. So lower stat or higher stats, better, obviously. That's a very powerful mechanic. I like that. It's very simple, very straightforward, and I think that's a very good baseline for a lot of these. We're gonna actually try and like adventure in this game, kind of. Which I have like a thought kicking around in my head that I'm excited to hopefully come up with some ideas. Hopefully that'll be helpful. But anything else you want to talk about? Oh fuck, it's Dracula.
I mean, it's oozing with an incredible sense of humor. Things like the DM or the Dracula Master.
Yeah.
Like climb Dracula Mountain. It's just so also casually funny in my opinion. The first one we played won the contest one year as one of the 3 winners. This was a finalist in the contest, so it did pretty well. It just did not take home the final prize. Ivalon asks, "Is Pete another table lover?" It's a very table heavy game. I would say that I am a table lover if you're referring to playing on tabletops. In which case,
beautiful that a game with less than 200 words can be table heavy.
That is. Oh wait, table heavy. I understand. Yes, I also love tables. I also love tables. Yes.
Well, I'm digging this. Do we want to kind of start jumping down into some of our own concepts here?
Yeah, absolutely. We got a lot of also people in chat. We don't really have, or Jeremy, you had one idea I think in mind.
I had one idea like bouncing around that I thought of earlier. But chat, if you have ideas for games, feel free to like post that stuff in the chat and we can figure it out. I mean, Pete was mentioning earlier, like, if we just took the names of DnDTime adventures, we could make some really dumb role-playing games.
A lot of them could be games for certain.
Reminds you favorably of Cthulhu Dark, Roger Twice says. Roger, I'm not familiar with Cthulhu Dark, but if it reminds you of it in a good way, hey, we'll take it, right?
Well, great.
We should brainstorm concepts. That's exactly where we at now. So, Owlbear Dating Simulator.
That was the exact one that I thought, like, Owlbear Dating Simulator from D&D Adventures could be a game.
Yep, so that's on the list. Pete, I got a question for you. Are the titles included in the 200 words?
No. The title is discrete from the 200 words. I guess if you wrote it again in the body of the text, it would be, but they give you a separate place for the title, and there's like a character limit on it. But it's very big.
Okay, that's fair enough. So, Reflecting Tonight saying Owlbear Dating Simulator. So, Reflecting Tonight, what happens in Owlbear Dating Simulator? Like, what is the core couple of things that, like, this game is about? So, that first game, Stardust, right, was about telling the story of the life of a... That second game was investigate Dracula. Find and defeat Dracula. Track down and defeat Dracula. What's Owlbear Dating Simulator's kind of goal? Is it romance an owlbear? Is it help owlbears find love? Are you playing?
It's probably help owlbears find love.
Mm-hmm.
That was what the DnDTime adventure was, if I remember.
That was what the DnDTime adventure was. Exactly. It was in fact helping owlbears find love. I think in this one you have to pick your true love from a pack of owlbears.
Maybe I do like the idea of that. Your party is all owlbears and you're all looking for romance. That does sound like a very fun, kind of intro to the game.
You're all owlbears, looking for romance. Okay. And when an owl and a bear love each other very much.
Now, do we want to have like a lore of this game?
Oh no, I don't think we need lore.
Is there like ultimately, because one of the things Dracula did, where it was kind of like it kind of told you what the plot structure.
Tell you a story.
We could do that kind of direction where it's like ultimately there is some. I like the idea that there is maybe some paradise where there's just tons and tons of owlbears, and where the owlbears are like migrating to find love.
Perhaps. I'm just trying to figure out like how are you going to keep this nice and simple without being too.
Well, I was thinking like that's just the only that's like the only plot. It's like you're all trying to get to Owlbear Romance Island or whatever we end up calling it, and the journey there is kind of like a lot of the thing, and then you just get to be owlbears walking around and doing stuff in a D&D woods.
Design the perfect date for your owlbear. You need to get the date before the owlbear prom.
Yeah, I guess that does cut out a little bit too much of the dating because I feel like you want more dating involved.
I agree. So yeah, we'll just say so you're all owlbears looking for romance. Is there one owlbear that like all of the players are trying to get with? Is that the idea? Or is this a competitive or cooperative game?
I was thinking
competitive.
I was thinking the same. I was thinking the same thing. Where there's just one object of owlbear affection that all owlbears love, that all owlbears love, the perfect owlbear.
So you have to, what is this? What's the term? Seduce the perfect owlbear. All right. Oh gosh, it's the Owlbear Bachelor. Um, so maybe yeah, let's go with this premise. I kind of like this owl bear prom premise uh, from Reflected 10A. I think that's a good, a strong concept here. Um, so do we have skills here? Do you have like skills as an owl bear?
Um, yeah, there's your you have an owl skill and a bear skill.
Ooh, oh, I like this. Owl skill, bear skill.
You can have a +1 to owl and maybe a +2 to bear, or a +3 to bear and +0 to owl.
Oh, so you can have distribute. Okay, so owl skill and bear skill, and then distribute +3 across owl and bear. Okay, I'm following so far. I'm following.
And owl's probably good for things like, owls is probably your. I don't know if we're ever going to define that, what owl and bear
Mhm.
are, but I feel like bear is your more physicality and owl is more of your flair.
So owl's good for flair and panache. Bear is good for strong.
Yeah, and maybe like when we're doing it in parentheses,
Uh-huh.
you can get a +1 to owl, and then like in parentheses next to it, we could probably write something like mind, and then or bear in parentheses body.
I mean,
And
I like it just like that. I'm
bear
sold already.
just bear is good for strong.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, fair
Um,
enough.
Maddie's saying mating ritual to prove yourself. Birds often show off plumage. Bears mark territory with strength and such. Could be a good stat split mechanic. Oh, geez, Maddie, we're on the same page. Owl and bear. But boom! This is a competitive game. You're all trying to woo the perfect owl bear date uh, for the owl bear prom.
For the owl bear prom. And maybe the owl bear. I like what he's talking about here with the owl bear mating rituals.
Mhm.
Maybe there are a whole. Maybe the owl bear mating ritual is incredibly complicated.
Maybe we have a table of mating rituals.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking a table of mating
Hmm.
rituals. I would be willing to invest a lot of this game into the
A lot
table
of the
for.
room into mating rituals.
Yeah, into
Uh,
the mating rituals table.
Interpretive dance. I that's got to be one of them.
Dance the dance of the 12 confession. That's a Magic Tavern reference. Sometimes I make references just for our dear friend Crowley in chat.
I see. Sword also had an idea in there, and I want to get Sword's RPG on here before we miss it. It's called Seven Doors, which is a great name.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
nice.
So I'm just gonna copy that right in here because that's actually this is actually a good concept here. Not that Albert Denison isn't good, but it may not be quite as interesting.
We
You're
only get
stuck
we
in a
only get
room.
one, I believe. So
Yeah. And I love Sword. You're nailing this, dude. So you're stuck in a room with 6 small doors and one large door protected by a monster that leads out. Each door can hold a monster, a trap, or a treasure. You need to find 3 treasures behind the smaller doors in order to get past the monster. When you come to the door, you can open, peek, or knock. I like this a lot. This is a cool concept right off the bat. Bear is good for strong. Exactly, Ivalon. It's a good economical use of words. Fight Club. What is this? Is it fish fighting simulator? Um. Oh, head rotation, wrestling. Oh
I
yes.
like the idea of flight. Like owlbears can actually fly, but the one that just jumps the highest is the most
Mhm.
owl.
I agree. I think the shot put needs to be in there.
Oh, the shot put for sure.
Yeah, 100%. That's an owlbear dating ritual. Um, or mating ritual rather. Um, so we have interpretive dance, head rotation, wrestling,
I,
flight. Um, what else
uh,
is owl?
feather bouquets.
All right,
Make you make bouquets out of your feathers.
And
that can be interpreted however anyone wants. Yeah, well, I was thinking wrestling. That's what I was thinking with the wrestling.
Oh, right, wrestling. I missed that one.
Um,
human mauling.
I picture feather bouquets as like feather macaroni art.
Adventure hunting.
Yep, I like it.
I'm just gonna keep pasting sword stuff down here so I don't lose it, because sword's putting some actually really cool concepts in there, and we're all still just speed taxes reflected 10.8 says.
Speed taxes.
All right, that'll go.
I like the idea of just like, it's also just, you know, conversation. They have to just like your personality. There's gotta be something along the line of like, you know, it's not just, they gotta get to know you as an owlbear. What are you like? Very Miss America pageant.
So we've gotten some cool concepts in here right now for the mating rituals, and I think it's during mating rituals. Probably other owlbears can try and thwart you, right?
Yeah, including your ally owlbears.
Well, you don't have any allies. It's competitive, Pete.
Your PC owlbears.
Yeah, that's exactly what's trying to thwart you.
Your OBs.
What?
There's one DM and 4 OBs.
Okay. And the DM is the dating master?
Maybe. I feel like we don't want to do that.
Too close here. We're going too close here.
Dracula Master is the funniest thing I've ever read in my life. Yeah.
Religious debate does not go on the list.
Religious debate, Jesus.
That is how you lose the dating competition. Oh shit! Iron Chef cook-off, 100%. Roger Twy. We can just say cook-off. I think we don't have to necessarily say. The desired mate. Oh, that's pretty good. Hugging. Yeah, that could be on here.
Yeah, a fluff. Just their overall fluff.
Secret ingredient is halfling meat. Let's see. Can try and thwart you. What do they do to try and thwart you? How is this going to work? What is our core mechanic going to be for Owlbear Dating Simulator?
Are we going to do a dice mechanic?
Yeah, do we want to do dice? Maybe we could do cards. Like if everyone gets a hand of 5 cards and you can play the cards plus your skill, right?
Have that yeah, card plus skill, have that kind of bluff out mechanic. I think we do cards plus skill, we can give a few more points too.
Yes, maybe it's 5 to distribute across the 2. And then when you start, each owlbear draws, I don't know, what is it? 5 cards?
Yeah.
We're just going by 5s here. Lots of 5.
And maybe, you roll for you'll roll for which parts of the dating ritual are going to be judged by this. Which ones are important to this particular prospective mate.
Exactly. Ooh, coin flip. We could do owl stuff or bear stuff. I feel like part of this game is lawyering how you can use your owl skill for for hunting,
and how you can use your bear skill for flying.
Exactly. Anyway, so when you start, each owlbear draws 5 cards. Can use the cards to. So whenever you do a thing, you play a card and gain, or you know what might be cool actually? Maybe you play and then draw a card.
Um, well, I like the idea of like it goes into the contest, and I guess
Because
um,
if we have multiple rounds, right? Because we have, let's say we have 3 rituals, right? And
mhm,
you have 5 cards. Oh, then you can try and mess up 2 other people throughout those 3 rituals. Sure,
that's
maybe
true.
that's okay. Maybe
Well,
5 cards is good.
um, I also imagine like everyone can go into a ritual and they put their cards face down, and then everyone probably reveals like what their card is, and that's how like so there's kind of maybe some like bluffing in there and things of
Mhm.
that nature. And then I guess we're getting a little bit too outside the realm of an RPG. It becomes less about the role playing and more about the meta game of trying to look at your opponent's skills as an owl bear.
I almost want the beginning here to be like Owlbear playing poker. Nice, I've won. Um, I don't know. It's weird because like we want it to be more tactical, more strategic than just I got good cards. That's the worry now, right?
Yeah, yeah. Um,
Hmm.
and we want it to be like I feel like just your charisma as a player should factor in. Like there should be I think some like because I guess that's the problem with like the competitive RP is you have to like judge it. I guess you just judge by dice rolls at the end of the day, or in this case the cards. But
I think what it is, right, is you can have up to a +5 from your owl and bear skills, and then I think the desired mate can award up to 5 bonus points for good RP. Plus the card points. That's my guess.
yeah, maybe that's the
Shot in the dark.
maybe that's the strategy.
Maybe
It's
we
just,
come back to Owlbear Dating Simulator.
yeah, I don't want to spend too much time on just this one. I want to kind of do a few of them, and I want to look at what Sword was talking about here with 7 doors.
Yeah, let's look at this. This seems like actually a strong concept. Not that Owlbear Dating Simulator was bad.
I love
It was just a
Albert. I
little
love
a
it.
little wonky.
It's
Uh,
exactly Alberg's Simulator is exactly what I dreamed we would do, kind of.
I mean, it is actually. 7 doors. You're stuck in a room with 6 small doors and 1 large door protected by a monster that leads out. Each door can hold a monster, a trap, or a treasure. You need to find 3 treasures behind the smaller doors in order to get past the monster. When you come to a door, you can open, peek, or not. Based on what you hear or see, you can determine if it's a trap, a monster, or swing caution to the wind and open the door. And I guess he said further a little back, you have 3 hit points, run into a monster or a trap, you lose 1 hit. And presumably you lose when you run out of.
Yeah, so it's the idea is do you get the treasure doors before you get open all of the monster doors?
Mm-hmm.
Um,
So I guess here's my thought process here, right? It seems just kind of like luck at this point.
it would require, I think, a lot of prep work for the DM to really think about and build the
Mm-hmm.
doors where there's like that are skill testing. Um, which I don't like off the top of my head. I mean, there's like, I feel like the problem would be kind of finding the line between making it too easy, where, all right, you go up to the door and you hear you hear the grunting of, some kind of creature. Essentially, like, well, that's obviously a monster. But then there's the opposite side where, like, no, it was a golden sentient bull that is the treasure. And then it feels more like a gotcha than like the skill. So
Mm-hmm.
it'd be hard to find that like way to make it really test skill.
Yeah, so is this a cooperative or a competitive? I think this is cooperative, right?
Yeah, I would think it would be cooperative.
So it's cooperative. Um, hmm. We're gonna come back to this one, Sword. If you've got more to add to this, I think hit us in the chat. Um, but for now, I had one that I wanted to talk about because I think the chat's gonna really love this one, except for you, Farfel. You hate this because uh, this is called Disciples of Dragonor. Oh, yep. No, it's
Disciples
Dragon. Felt like that. I think.
Dragonor.
Yeah, that's not gonna. No one's gonna pronounce that correctly. You can spell it Dragonor.
Dragon.
So, Dragonor. Dragonor is a a baby red dragon. and you are a pile of goblin. You love Dragonor. So if you love Dragonor, what I think the goal for Disciples of Dragonor is goal: raid the human village, get treasure and worshippers for Dragonor. Actually, I think it's just treasure. Get treasure for Dragonor. So, if you're a bunch of goblins, what are the stats for goblins? I think goblins have like a couple of, kind of like how owlbears had owl and bear. I think goblins have like,
I think we can have some funny like sneer.
oh yeah, they have sneer. Probably sleaze.
Ooh.
Because we got the mean and sneer, we got the sleaze. No, we don't. That's not Goblin Lynn. All right, I see what you're going for, Avalon. Sneer, sleaze,
Stab, and sneak.
On sneak. Oh, perfect.
Sneer is their intimidation, essentially.
Yep.
Sleaze is their deception.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
Stab
is their murder, and sneak is their sneak.
Yeah.
Hide, run, and scream. No, these are murder goblins. How do we determine stats?
We could just like, give them a 1 to 4. Give each stat basically like you can just rank them in the order in which you're good at them. And your best stat, you get a certain thing, and your worst stat, you get a certain thing.
Ooh, I like this. Ooh, steal. That's a good one.
I like the idea of
sneak.
I actually even like the ability of you just pick one that you're best at and one that you're worst at, and then you get a bonus and a penalty, and then are neutral on the others.
Okay. So gain bonus to best and penalty to worst, neutral to us. All right. I'm digging that. So how do we want to do Disciples of Dragon?
Because you're kind of done. The game is kind of done now.
Yeah, pretty much. You go out, you do goblin stuff.
So
like, what do you do?
I know. I think we're done. We've made a 200. We've made less than a 200 word RPG. What is it about being a goblin that is like kind of the juice of being a goblin? I mean, are we inherently evil? Is that assumed that you're an evil goblin?
100% evil. You're 100% evil.
Okay.
What else? This is where I get confused because I haven't read as many of these 200-word RPGs as you have.
Yeah, I know. I've spent a lot more time on I have at some point, maybe on Worlds, I'll go through some of mine. I've like already built 4 of these for this contest, and I'm only allowed to submit 1.
Oh, really? You only get 1, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, damn. It's gonna be a tough one for me.
Yeah, I don't know what I'm gonna pick, but
I think you're gonna pick Disciples of Dragonor.
I think I'm gonna pick Disciples of Dragonor. Yeah.
So I think you're 100% evil, and I think you probably gain points throughout the adventure for getting loot and being evil. Gain points for getting loot and being evil. Lose points for dying. When you die, you're replaced by an identical goblin.
Oh, you see, now I have a fun direction, I think, for this, and that is, rather than points, we can call the points like bounty or notoriety, where the higher your points get, the more legendary of a goblin you become, and adventurers start coming to stop you. So maybe the goal is not to get points or to like do things evilly or to like get gold without committing crimes, or like something along those lines. Because I think the idea of like every time you do something, every time you steal something, you become more renowned as a goblin thief, and the problem gets bigger. And then as goblins, eventually it gets to the critical mass where there's a level 1 party that shows up and wipes you out.
So gain a point each time you succeed using your stat.
Maybe every time you fail with your stat, you gain a point. Because like if you're successfully stabbing, then you're killing and there's no one to report it. If you're successfully sneaking, so on and so forth.
So gain infamy.
Yeah, you gain infamy as a goblin.
Oh, I spelled infamy totally wrong. Each time you succeed, not succeed. Each time you fail.
Can we give a leveling system in this? Because I like the idea of you getting to get experience as a goblin.
Gain XP each time you succeed.
Each time you return treasure to Dragonor.
Oh yeah, you bring treasure to Dragonor. So this is absolutely now a multi section.
Yeah, no, you can now play a campaign of Disciples of Dragonor.
Gain XP each time you bring treasure to Dragonor. XP is based. Okay. Oh, and I like this.
Gain one stat, presumably.
Let's see. XP gain is based on 1d20. No, so XP gain. Okay, no. Okay. When you return treasure, and we can find a better way to write this. Treasure to Dragonor. Roll a d20 on a 10 or less. Dragonor is unamused.
Oh no.
But keeps the treasure anyway.
Oh no.
You gain 1 point for stat.
And then maybe we do the stats a little differently from the way we did originally.
No, your bonus goes up.
Oh, so you're just become better at the thing you're already good at?
Exactly, and worse at the thing you're already bad at.
Oh no!
Because you become like all villains, right? You become very what do you call it?
Specialized.
Exactly. You're just super evil.
I am one with the shadows. I cannot pick up a dagger. If I pick up a dagger, I kill myself.
Okay.
Just you have a -7 to stab. You're rolling on a d6. Good luck.
I like this a lot. I just want to read this gem from Farfel. I don't think I've hated anything Jeremy has ever created as much as I despise Dragonor. Even the fucking dragon that killed my donkey.
I don't know what this thing that you made is.
I ran a one-shot adventure where all the players were goblins trying to bring to gain favor from Dragonor, the baby red dragon. And it was great, and Crowley hated him so much in the best way. I don't think he necessarily feels that way, but I do. Let's see what chat's saying. But actually saying gain favor. Yeah.
I was just looking at chat as well.
Maddie Morgan saying, like, you get an evil goal even if it is kill the local farmers, but all the gobos have the most evil plan on how to do it. I think just treasure equals XP is good, and then just 50% chance. Just nope. Agree with you.
I actually, Jeremy, can we go back and start over?
Sure.
Not completely, but just at the stat system, instead of bonus and penalty, can you just have no bonuses and you're just flat, and then you start building your class by building stuff, bringing stuff back to Dragonor?
Oh, I like this.
I
don't know. Maybe you start with a.
Actually, we could also just have a penalty in everything.
Oh yeah.
You just start with a -1 in everything.
your least worst at, and
Uh,
one you're most worst at.
I'm also down for Dragonor to bestow the blessing upon them based on their report. Like, he picks what stat up they get.
Okay, so have a -1 penalty to best, and
-2 penalty to worst.
no, -3
Oh,
penalty to
-3
worst,
penalty to worst. -2 penalty.
-2 to other.
D,
There we
D,
go.
D6 system, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
You're 100% evil. You gain infamy. So actually, maybe we don't use the infamy system. I mean, actually, I think we do anyway.
No, I think that's how you die, is you just fuck up too many times, and then it's just like, there's a hard point at which you just die.
Upon gaining 10 infamy,
And if I was... yeah.
venturing party comes and kills you.
And I think that, like, there's a certain point where you become a legendary goblin, and then either, I don't know if you ascend, like, I could see almost a full campaign. Like I said, I could see a full campaign of playing this game. I think we're in a good spot on Disciples of Dragonor. Do you want to take a look at another one? I know Crowley was tossing one around in chat.
Yes, we'll do that in just a second. Oh, I say his choosing, of their choosing. Who knows what Dragonor? Dragonor's a dragon. All right, let's go. What's our next RPG, Pete?
Fight Club. You are part of a fighting fish club. A fighting fish fight club.
It's Fight Club, right?
Yeah, Fight Club. The game consists
That's a good name.
Of getting to the fight club without the humans finding out, doing the fighting, and then getting back to your tank.
This is excellent.
Oh no, Jeremy is gone from Discord, but Spectator's still here, so maybe you can still see me. I don't know. All right, yeah, you can still see me. Excellent. So we're talking. I like.
All right, I think we're back now.
I like the terrible fucking organ for this.
Oh, I know, right? Hey guys, so apparently that was just Discord. That had nothing to do with us. But we're back for the very end here of Fight Club.
Your fish. Your fish trying to get out of. I like this. I'm already feeling the world building here of this world in which, like, there's the elaborate scheme that you have to get out of your tank to get into. The Fight Club is probably in, like, a nearby pond or perhaps the ocean. And then you get back into your tank. Very Finding Nemo to me, in a sense.
I was thinking the sewers, but you know what? That might work.
Oh, the sewers are the perfect place for a Fight Club, I think.
I pretty good. What else do we know about Fight Club? Are there classes?
Are there classes? Yeah, the classes are...
Clownfish.
Yeah, I was about to say almost exactly the same thing.
Beta fish.
Shark.
Trout.
I like the idea of...
Literal shark.
Just like... Fucking... The shark is OP. It's an imbalanced game.
We're gonna put lobster at the end. Okay. So we've got the clownfish, the betta fish, the trout, literally a shark, and a lobster.
Cracked me up. I just pictured a fucking betta fish going head toe to toe with a shark, and then the shark just eats it, and that's it.
Well, no, you're all on the same team.
Oh, you're thinking like a team fighting? See, I was thinking like the official rules of Fight Club.
Fish.
Oh, so just betta fish.
But fucking sharks. Well, I think it works. I think it works better if we're all betta fish, to be frank.
Yeah, it absolutely does. My idea was a bad one. No two ways about that.
But I also like having... Anyway. So how does this work?
I would like to, for this, since I think we've done some good art, I'd like to go really heavy and focus on the combat here.
So I think you get some items first, right?
Yeah. Well, I guess, but Crowley was saying, though, you have to get out of your tank. So I guess it can be
from
just
your
the combat.
tank.
So you have, like, your pebble, your...
Well, exactly. Maybe one is pebble. One is maybe just another dead fish. Maybe one...
oh, no. And your toy scuba diver man.
Exactly. Maybe it's a plastic treasure chest. Like, I think there's some stuff here. Maybe it's just
I think
pick an item.
Yeah.
You have it.
Good.
Escape from the tank. Beware the filter.
Fight. I really want to get into some serious details on the mechanics of fighting. Maybe we can do some kind of like, punch out style. You have like a few different, tail fin, side fin, or I don't know, glub your mouth.
Well, I think tail fin probably beats side fin. I'm sorry, dorsal.
A rock, paper, scissors style.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going for. We just make this game into an elaborate just rewriting of rock, paper, scissors.
It's just the world's most complicated game of rock, paper, scissors.
What if we come up with something else? What if when we did the DnDTime Legend Battle, right? We had a verbal initiative deal where whoever said they acted first, that started the combat and started the initiative order.
Yes.
What if we did something like that, where this is just how you retort? It's just you just have to go back and forth.
Oh, like your parry, like basically when they attack, you have to parry and then send out your own attack, and you just go until someone stumbles, like verbally.
Perhaps that might be interesting.
Like almost like kind of like the party, like a party game where, like, oh, everyone names colors. If you can't say one, or if you say one that someone already said, you're out.
I think that would be an idea.
I think that's a great way to do combat, actually. You describe how you block the attack, and then you describe your next attack. If the referee, who is the DM, determines that an attack was too similar, or you take too long to describe your attack, you are defeated and declared the loser in the competition. Because then I think that's for one thing, that's a heavy role-playing thing, where I don't think like I can picture that being very on the players to kind of narrate their battle, and that's my dorsal fin moves up in front to block his side fin from coming down. I move forward in a click strike, picking up a pebble from the bottom of the fish tank and flicking it up into the fish's bottom, things like that, and then just move back and forth where the person has to like immediately respond to that. I can see that being like a fun way to do combat.
I think that could work.
I think that's actually I think that's like a really cool mechanic, honestly.
So,
if they're Jeremy,
each player, so a fish narrates its attack against another fish. The other fish narrates its parry and retort. Repeat until one fish flounders.
Oh, nice. And maybe like for the referee, we can put some rules for judging. And I know this was part of it was like escaping the tank and then getting back, but I feel like we could make the game just this combat thing. Because
I mean, we could.
This seems to be like where we're putting, and I feel like then we have like a very focused game that you could play reasonably, and like, you know, the referee role would be fun. I think we could put in more rules for things like escalation, like where if your first attack as a fish relies on like casting spirit energy at your opponent, that's probably because I assume that that's where we're going to get to at some point. There's no way the fish don't start Hadoukening at some point.
So maybe each round of parry ups the ante a little bit.
Yeah, there's some kind of like, maybe we can put like a table of power scaling.
Maybe that's it. That the judge can escalate.
Yeah, maybe there's like a rule of power scaling to a degree, where, you know, there's regular fish. And I think regular fish is you have one move and it's bite.
Yeah.
I bite them. And then it escalates to like, you know, more martial arts. And then I think there's like a magic scale. And I picture by the end, the fish are fighting as like gods descending, you know, the world hanging in the balance. I like Blood Deuce's comment here. What if the point is to fight to be the champion that gets to escape the tank?
Interesting. So we got regular moves, which are bite / splash.
Ivalon says, I think the referee should be a shark.
We could. Who else could the referee be? I don't know. We haven't determined who the referee is or how the referee escalates. And I think what happens, I think. Oh, here's an A for combat scaling. Right, here we go. You gain a number of points equal to the scale of the combat. Right. How much it escalates.
Oh,
right.
Okay.
So if we get to God tier, maybe that's 9 points. So if we have
maybe it just escalates each round.
Yeah, I think that'd be fine.
It just doesn't. It's not like a referee determined thing. It's just.
Yeah, no, I think so. No, the problem with that, though, right, is I feel like that gets. I guess no, because you got to retort the enemy's thing too.
Yeah. And I like the idea of the first one. It's like I bite. And then the other one person's like, I dodge and bite back. And then immediately after, it's like, I catch the bite with my fin. You know? Because it's now escalated to martial arts tier.
Yeah, exactly. I catch with my fin and go into a diving kick. So let's see. We go to regular fish moves to martial arts to what comes after martial? Small weapons.
Yeah, martial arts plus weapons.
Actually, we'll just say medieval. Medieval combat to modern what? Modern weapon.
Modern military scale.
No, I think maybe not military. Military, I think, comes next, right?
Basic, like basic ballistics.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Basic ballistics. A basic handheld ballistics. There we go. Modern military.
I think 6 is magic. Trout, Eidolon trout jousting. Yeah, absolutely.
Basic medieval combat turns into advanced medieval combat.
Oh wait, 6 is probably future tech with laser cannons and stuff.
I think magic comes before that.
Um, I feel like maybe we just go straight into magic. Advanced medieval. uh,
So we got future tech slash sci-fi,
um,
and then 8.
Superhero.
Yeah, all right. Superhero, godly, and then personal insults. Petty personal insults.
Petty. Can we put petty personal insults at the beginning? Actually, before
Oh, yeah.
bite.
Sure. So round 0 is petty personal insults or petty personal attacks. And then bite slash, martial arts, basic medieval combat, jousting, swords. Oh, 6.
Just 10, just like Eldritch. I don't know. Just infinite power.
Magic. So sci-fi, that's just ray gun. What is godly?
I think godly is things like I don't know. When I picture god powers, I just picture big magic basically.
Okay.
You can just write big magic.
Big magic.
I'm
down with that.
I think 10. If we could just write the word Eldritch, and just
no human intervention. Crowley got it, I think.
Human intervention. That's just the end.
Yep. Both lose.
Oh, if
I think everyone loses if you can't win by then. If you can't throw something so ludicrous at someone that they cannot retort,
that they laugh or something like
exactly.
Because I think we put into the rules at some point of this particular game, and for the record, since we're getting to near the end of the show, I think some of these games, I at least personally am gonna want to go in and flesh these out. So I think some of them will just be finished next time we talk about the 200-word RPG challenge. Which I think we'll have a couple more weeks.
Obviously, and then maybe there's a time limit. How do we do a time limit for this?
Yeah, if your description of your retort and attack.
Oh, here we go. Your enemy must. Your opponent. If your opponent can chug a cup of water faster than
Oh no!
And this is really a drinking game, guys. Is really what this is coming down to.
Oh no, Jeremy. But Jeremy, I can chug a cup of water.
That's why it's called Fight Glove, Pete.
I'll say this, Jeremy. I can chug a cup of water faster than any retort you would have other than one-word retorts.
Just by pouring it all over yourself?
I can chug a glass of water very quickly.
Maybe we're gonna highlight this one. But
I don't think that rule would work depending on the skill of your opponent.
This rule. Ivalon loves it, so maybe Pete, you should listen.
I'm just saying, it wouldn't be enough time. I guess you do have to go get a glass of water.
So I like petty personal attacks here, and it's the one with the best fish pun goes first.
I love that a lot.
Excellent.
I changed since I was always planning on a 10th tier where there was going to be Eldritch, which would be reality warping, but I think Godly can just be that.
Yeah, no, I think that's fine. I'm down with that. So I think Fight Glove, despite being the one we did last, is by far the best.
Yep.
Dragonor, I like Disciples of Dragonor.
I like all of them.
Yeah, these are all pretty rad.
I think Fight Club has just a very
Good name.
well, it has a
Good
good name,
concept, too.
but it has just a very strong mechanic as well. I think that mechanic of just quick wits and go back and forth, but it's still like the role playing aspects of
Mhm.
you're describing your character's actions, and it's just whoever describes their character's actions the best, kind of.
I agree. They're all pretty awesome, Ivalon. Well, I guess that probably wraps us up for this evening. I think we could fit so many more fish puns into Fight Club, and I'm excited for that to happen eventually.
Absolutely.
Well, I guess this is a pretty productive episode of Brews.
Yeah, for sure.
We got some good stuff down for that the Brewmaster slash alchemist slash whatever we want to call it class potion dude. And we made Fight Club, so and by we I mean it's mostly Crowley.
Yeah, that's true.
I think with that, we are going to wrap it up for tonight. Thanks everyone for hanging out, for helping us create these awesome ideas and hashing out that subclass option. I'm digging it. I'm really digging it.
I am as well. This was definitely a fun brews. A lot of big stuff tonight in brews. So yeah, you'll see more of both of these things, both the class and the 200-word RPG challenge, as we're moving forward. I don't know what we'll do specifically next brews. We might just focus on one or the other. We'll have to wait and see. But announcements. Tune into our other shows. Watch on Wednesday, DnDTime Talks, where we take just an hour and break down some Dungeons and Dragons related topic. Not sure what it's going to be this week, but you can stay tuned and see that in announcements, which will be out at some point tomorrow. Tune in on Friday to Pete and Jeremy's D&D time. Are you doing anything on Tuesday, Jeremy?
No, I'm not. I've got a really busy.
Yeah. Tune in on Friday, Pete and Jeremy's D&D time. 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, 6 Pacific. We run one-shots with chat. Always a lot of fun. And then a week from today will be Waterdeep Dragon Heist.
Yeah, it's going to be radical. I'm really excited about Dragon Heist. We're about to kick off into the story proper. So it's going to be good, I think. It'll be very good.
Yeah, I'm excited for certain. Anything else you have to say, Jeremy?
No, I've got nothing for now. Besides my eye kind of hurts.
Well, then you're Jeremy.
And you're Pete. And this is
D&D Time Brews.
Good night, everybody.